Hello, my creative friend. Thanks for joining me. I'm so happy you're here. I've got a interesting video today that I kind of put this sketch together from a few different images. And I knew what I wanted and I couldn't find the exact photo, so I took bits and parts from different reference photos and I'll show those to you. But I also wanted to explain in the beginning that my colors aren't the same as in the images either, because this is for me. This sketch is going to go up on my wall, and I wanted to design it around the colors that I liked. So, and I have another one that I'm putting. So I have two sketches that I'm going to be putting these onto cradle boards. So I wanted to share that video with you too once I get this finished and get it on the cradle board, or videotape the cradle board technique, and then show you them on my wall once I get that all done. So let me show you the next reference photo. So here is the one photo that I found, and the reason why I like this one is because it's vintage. It's a little this is an older building. I like that look of it. It hasn't been spruced up yet. There's the cutest little stickers on the bottom right corner, a skull with a hat, and a peanut with a little pirate hat, and it says P-nut. And I just love that, but I couldn't find a close-up image to share with you because they were copyrighted, anything that I could find. So if you want to look that up, just look up Old Town Bakery skull sticker and you could see it up close because the peanut's so darn cute. But I wanted to keep part of that in as well. And the flower container, I did not do the vine, and of course the colors are a little different. So let's get on to the next reference photo. And here is another photo. It still has the flower planter, and you can see the bottom of the building now. They put a strip of wood and they covered up the peanut and the skull. And I thought that was very interesting, so I liked that. So that's going to stay in. And the angle again is still off for me. It's not a bad angle, but it's not going to go with the other reference, or it's not going to go with the other artwork that I'm going to put with it. So let me show you the third one. So here is the third and final image, and I like this one, and because it's straightforward, there's no angles. You could see they cleaned up and painted, and I like the other ones. They just had more character. Our little skull and peanut's gone, and all the awnings and trim are green, and mine are green, but I liked the lighter green. So I left the bike out because I have a bike in the other sketch that's going to go onto my wall with this one, so I didn't want two bicycles. So let me show you mine again. So here's a quick glimpse of my finished image again. You can see I've got the flower planter. They put that I put that board along the bottom, and so you're only seeing a peek of the skull and the little tiny cute peanut. My green is the green that I like, so it's going up on my wall, and that's what I wanted to do. And the other thing that I added was the telephone pole, the old-fashioned telephone pole with a few birds on it. Other than that, yeah, it's me. So I made it my own, and let me share with you how I got this sketched. So I'm starting off with a Micron 0.5 fine tip pen that Christine so kindly recommended in a comment, and I want to thank her for that, because I really do like these pens. They dry really fast. They don't smudge, and you've got all different sizes. And yes, there's a lot of pens to choose from, and and it's fun to explore all the possible supplies out there. So I do like this pen. And I've got I cut out an 8.5 by 8.5 inch square a piece of watercolor, Strathmore watercolor paper, because I'm going to be putting this onto an 8 by 8 inch cradle board. So I just want it a little bit bigger, and then I'll trim it down. And when I'm doing my lines, I like to zigzag the line a little bit, gives it a little character, like you could see on that top part of the left side of that roof. And I'm going to keep this video in real time and narrate along the way. And this bakery is in Key West, Florida. I was looking up the reference photos for this, and it showed all their pastries, and it looks really good. I was getting hungry, and my stomach just growled. So this is a nice, not too complicated sketch. You could sketch along with me. Not too many details. And if you want, you could even pull up this reference photo for yourself and put the little bicycle in, because it is cute. But I left it out. And that pen it has a little glare on the paper, which is really interesting. As I was sketching with this, I was like, wow. And I noticed it, but then I wasn't paying attention to it. I kind of overlooked it after a while, after using it. It's almost like a little mini flashlight. So I'm looking to see where that door comes across, kind of a little bit halfway past the round sign and to the end of it. And I think I've got, yep, I think I've got the door the right size this time. I usually make them sometimes a little too wide. And that's the thing. If you just take your time and look to see where you're placing things in accordance to where other things are, you can kind of avoid those mistakes of getting off point on your perspective. And a lot of times I rush and I'm not really concentrating, and I'll put something and I know it's not in the right place because I didn't take the time. And I'm narrating this outside. It's about 10 o'clock. It's nice and quiet outside. The last video I narrated at dusk, and all the birds were going nuts, and I won't ever do that again. I listened to it back, and the birds were a little too rambunctious. And right now it's nice and quiet and peaceful. Just a few birds here and there. So putting in that little cement doorstep. And then that bottom wood part of the foundation. Give that line a little character, go back and forth a little bit. And then there's a little fence. You can't see it in this image. It's behind. I'm not putting the telephone pole in. And there's a sign there. I'm not putting that in either. The sign might have been cool. That might have been a nice little feature. But there's a little white picket fence to the left that you can't see from my photo that I have up. So I'm going to put that in to give it just a little something to the left. Because on the right we'll have the bench and the awning. So I'm kind of made that building a little bit smaller on my paper so I can get in some of those other details. And put in the curb. And then little sidewalk cracks or seams. There's a tiny little cement structure at the bottom there that it curves around the building. Could have left that out. You don't have to put that in. And in one of the other reference photos, there was a little blue bench with no back on it, but I liked the character of this bench, so I chose to put this one in. That's the beauty of creating your own art, because you can pick and choose and put in what you want. Make it your own. And the other sketch that I'm going to be putting with this is of Pepe's Cafe. I actually did a sketch of that earlier in an earlier video, but the perspective was off. But it's still my favorite. It's still actually my favorite. Even though the perspective was off, I still love it. But I wanted to do it, I needed to do it on this size of paper because it's going to go with this sketch. They're going to go on my wall together. And so I redid it with the right perspective, and that one's the one that has the bicycle in it. So that one, I will be sharing the video of that one shortly. I love doing the older buildings, and they just have so much character. And I think it's nice what they did in this photo, what they did, and cleaned it all up and painted it, but I really liked the way it looked before. So on the top of that on the right side of that top of that building, that was just the pipe that comes out that has the wires in it for their electrical, and I didn't put that in. I put a telephone pole instead, like I said. And then of course I had to put a few little birds on it. When I came out here to when I came out on my patio on my table, I have my laptop that I narrate, or yes, I narrate into the laptop as I'm playing the video, and there was a little gecko on my table. So I had a little friend. So I had a little friend who joined me for a moment, and then he took off. They're really fast. And I have my one dog, she likes to chase them, and my other dog, who's smaller, likes to chase the big giant iguanas. So there was a palm tree to the left a little bit. I moved that over so it's more in the sketch. So we have some nice plants on the left, the telephone pole on the right, and then I'll end up putting some more plants by that awning. So there's something on that side as well. And then got to put in some little gravel, even though there's no gravel there that I can see, but I always have to like put some gravel in. And in one of the other photos, those lights were kind of angling in. In this image, they look like they're going straight down. So do what you like. If you want to angle them in like I did, or just straight down. And now I'm going to put in those detailed slats along the side of the building, or the front of the building. And they don't have to be perfect. As you could see, mine are just not measuring, just using my eye. I'm not even going with how many are on the building. I'm just winging it. I've got putting less up there than the building has in the photo. And that's fine. And then once we're done with the ink, we're going to get out our watercolor paints and put some color in. So now I've switched to that other reference photo because this is where I'm going to be putting in the little flower container. And the little open sign. And you can see the lights on this one are kind of off-centered maybe. Well, it could be because of the angle, but they're kind of angled in a little bit more. And I did that in mine and I liked that better. And now I'm going to take a pencil so I can put that grid in for the window panes, and I'm going to put in little squares of paint for the windows themselves. So I got my Artist Loft palette, a little water, I think I've got some flat brushes for this one. Yeah, I've got a 6 and an 8 watercolor flat brush and then a fine tipped detail brush. So I mixed a little bit of phthalo light green and a cadmium yellow medium, and that's pretty much going to be my greens. If you want to do a darker green or a blue or whatever you want to make them red, that's fine too. I'm making all my greens the same. I will be going over these greens one more time just to deepen them up just a little bit. I'm going to wet the paper. And then drop some of the green into that. I picked up a little too much yellow, so to get that off. It's a little wet, so I'm just kind of pushing that water in a little bit. I did not wet the palm tree. I just will take the side of the brush and put a hint of those palm fronds. And I will be going over the screen again just to richen it up. I think it's interesting in the reference photo with the different colors. If you choose to do it that way, I think it's very pretty as well, with the light, the yellow top window and the greens in the other ones. I'm using a little bit of a burnt umber for the tree trunk and the light pole. I like this because I like to keep my paintings simple and not a lot of colors. I mean, yes, there are ones that I've done that are very, very colorful, have a lot of colors, but sometimes I just like to keep it simple, add a few colors here and there. And I think it gives it harmony. That's a blue jay. He's talking to us. He's on the fence right there by me. So for this color here that I'm using for the building, it's a lot of water with just a little bit of tiny bit of Payne's gray and a little bit of burnt umber, just to give it kind of a weathered brownish gray look. I like that. I think that looks really nice. I add more water to my brush to kind of just blend that, push that around, push that paint around, soften it up a bit. And if you find you have too much, I'm just taking a little bit of paper towel and just kind of pulling some of that out where it's wet. If you didn't like it that dark, or if you get it too dark, you could take a wet, clean wet brush, go over that and just kind of scrub it out a little bit, and then take the paper towel over it and blot out some of that color if that should ever happen for you. Watercolor can be a little forgiving, but not too much. I mostly have worked with oil paint in the past, and that's so forgiving. You can go over anything you want and omit and remove things that didn't work out. But watercolor, that's another story. And then I've got a little bit of an orangish red. A little bit of Payne's Gray. Really diluted down. And then a little bit heavier for the shadowing. There isn't a lot of shadowing in this image, but I'm just putting it in. The very first photo, or reference photo that I showed, had some really cool shadowing on the building. But I like this one. I like the... I'll put a little shadowing underneath the basket and the light fixtures and the sign. Shadowing is key. It makes... Can never forget to do your shadowing because it makes things pop. Get out the little fine tip detail brush. Put in the little light fixtures. I'm going to pop in a little bit darker green into those trees. I just added a tiny little sap green to my green that was already on my palette. I do like the angle of this building though, now that I'm looking at it. I thought that would be a nice sketch to do it at this angle, but like I said, I wanted it to go with my other one, so. But I like how you have the hint of that side window underneath the awning. So I've got the fine tip brush again, and I'm gonna pop in those window panes with some Payne's Gray and just lightly get some squares in there. You could do this with a marker if you want, if you have a gray Tombow or any gray marker. I started putting in more windows down there, but that wasn't windows. I was getting window happy. So I think another great alternative, that's what I love about art, is there's so many different ways you can get the same effect. But I think what I'd like to try is, I do like the way this looks, but if I did the window and the door all gray, Payne's Gray, and then I finally got my Uni Pasca white fine tip pen, paint pen, and if I did the whole window and door gray, and then took the Posca pen and did the white trim with that, I think that would be really a great effect. I think that would work out really well too. And that, like I said, that's a great thing about art is there's not always one way to get the result you're looking for. That's when we get creative. And then I'll do that window all around, leave the open sign white. And a pop of color, a little bit of opera pink for some flowers. Put in a little bit of greenery. And I'll be using my Posca pen for the lettering in the sign. I don't know if I don't think I did that on camera. I think I'm like kind of camera shy now when it comes to doing lettering, because that one video where I misspelled, I think I did it off camera. I'm scarred from misspelling. I think I got too nervous to do it on camera. So I think I'm going to go back in and put some greenery on the right there. Put some bushes. And I make the leaves, the squiggles a little bit smaller so it looks like that plant's in the back, off into the background. A few more. A little bit of yellow. Into the light bulbs, a really, really fine tip, 005 for the lettering for the open sign. And now I'm going to put in the little, start with this little hat. He's got some sunglasses on. love little stuff like this. Little peekaboo things. Is that a fedora? I don't know what kind of hat that is. If that's a fedora? Sometimes I want even a finer tip than a 005. I'll have to look and see if there's anything even finer than that. And I got the little peanut guy in too. Just the top of him. Just his hat and a little bit of his head peeking out. And he's yellow, so I just put a little drop of yellow onto him. Now I've got the fine point brush with some Payne's Gray just to put in a little bit more detail into the front of that building. Give it a little more character, a little more wear and tear. Give it that grime. Just make sure you add a lot of water. And you can take a wet brush and just kind of soften and blend all that in. Little shadowing. Makes that sign pop. Makes those lights pop. And one more coat of green. And that was the phthalo light green with the cadmium yellow medium with just a little bit of sap green. And add a little bit more into those trees. Give them a little shadowing. And I've got the 0.3, and I'm going to put in some details like the rings on the tree trunk. And now I am doing the lettering on camera. I couldn't remember if I filmed it or not. So I guess I've got my confidence back. So this pen is nice, really nice for lettering. I like that. They don't carry these at the stores by me, and Amazon had a set of 3, but all I wanted was the fine tip. So I just kept searching on Amazon, and I finally found it was a set of 3, fine tip only, and that's all I wanted. I didn't want the medium or thicker, so I just kept searching and found them. I'll put these in a link in the description underneath the video for you. As I was using a Uniball pen, and it would get bogged down on top of the watercolor paint. So this works out much nicer. Thank you for, I can't remember her name. I will have to give her a shout out in helping me find those. I've seen other artists use them. I just couldn't find them. So I've got the 0.3 pen, and I'm going to do some outlining just to make some things stand out. Not crazy about my door because there was more white around the windows and less trim, but that's okay. Some last minute line work, looking to see what else it needs. See how those lines just make things stand out. Put the little birds in after the fact, didn't get that on film, but that's okay. You know, just put a little dots on top of the wire if you want little birdies. So this is my finished sketch, which you've seen in the beginning. Yeah, it turned out cute. So I will share with you my other sketch that I'm going to be putting along with this, and then also show you how I put these onto cradle boards for hanging. And I want to thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, please reach out. Leave me your question in the comment section. And if you have subscribed, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And thank you, everybody, for all your comments and also your lovely comments. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I would appreciate it. Have a great day. I hope you find time to create something fun. Get sketching. Have a great day. Bye for now.